So you're looking to play a fighter or a warrior class in Baldur's Gate. You're going through, you're doing the click thing, and I've got like, when I'm clicking for my stats, I've got like the 2-second rule, meaning like I will click and then physically count like 1, 2, because we've been there where you're clicking through and you kind of want to get, in my opinion, 88 or higher. I really like 90 to 92. I got a 94 once. I got a 96 once. And when I got a 96, like the internet just paused for a moment. But I'm sitting there clicking through and I want to pause because I want my mind to be able to see the stats because we've been there, right? You're like click, 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 clicking through and you just kind of get into this autopilot and then you're like, you click, it's 94 and you're like, yes, but your body motion is still clicking and you click past it. And I've had that happen and I'm like, look, I just got to step away for like a day or two because that was like too much. But within that, a warrior needs high stats. And it actually, in my opinion, generating a warrior, a paladin, a barbarian, whatever we're going to play that is strength-based, that opens up the percentile, we're going to have to click through a bunch of times. And even if I get a 92 or a 90 or higher, I might have to abandon it and try to click again. So the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons rule set is kind of interesting in that 18 is potentially the highest score that you can get. But within strength for certain classes, there is a percentile, 00 to 100. And this gives you further bonuses within that 18 class. So the idea in Advanced Dungeons & Dragons was most players, 18 was the highest, 3 was the lowest. And you had stats of 19, 20, 25, but they were reserved for dragons, for titans, for giants, for other monster classes that represent something out of the ordinary. Now, compare that to D&D 3.x or D&D Modern, where through leveling up and gear, I can have a fighter with like plus 48. By the time I get to like level 10 to 12, well, maybe like 12 to 15, I can have plus 48, plus 50 strength. Easy. So it's a different type of game system where you can break that. Baldur's Gate being on the AD&D 2nd edition, they're looking and saying, well, we can't push you to 19 unless you've got a belt of X strength or you have some other boosts, maybe some tomes and things like that. But we can have within the 1800. So as a fighter, that opens up for a fighter because it represents their martial development and training. You want to be 1890 or higher. You want to have the maximum stat because that without gear is going to allow you to hit very, very, very hard. Now, some people will say, well, Fritz, eventually, look, we're going to tome up, we're going to gear up, so we're going to get to the 19 bracket or the 20 bracket higher. Yes, eventually. But before that, I want to be hitting with the most damage because I'm playing a fighter. Even if it's my main tune, I'm going to be up there doing what I got to do. But at the same time, if I have a 1890 or higher strength, that gives me opportunity in that the gear, no spoilers, the gear that I acquire, I can look and say, well, if I put this belt on, it's going to give me 19 strength. Well, that's a slot. That's some gear. Maybe there's some other gear that I'd rather have that belt. And if I drop down to 1890, then there's not as much of a loss. There's a little bit, but there's not as much of a loss. So I like to have that really, really high strength. So what this means is clicking through, you're actually going to have to click a lot longer to get those higher stats. Playing a fighter looks easy, right? Just roll it up, jack up the strength, jack up the constitution, maybe dexterity for the bonus. It's usually like 18, 18, 18, and then the rest is dump stats. But, dexterity I could get away with heavier armor. Yes, but it's a little bit more than that. It takes a while because you could get that 92. I could click and get a 92, and then when I update strength, it goes to like 18. I had that once where it's like 1801. Like, really? 18/01. Really? 1810, 1820. You want to get that higher. And of course, this is if you're playing a character class that you can't automatically go to 19. So within that focus, the importance of a fighter, of a warrior, of a barbarian, of a martial class, having that as close to possible. I can't remember if I ever rolled an 1800 strength. Tabletop I did once, tabletop AD&D. And I really, I wasn't looking to play a fighter, but once I generated those stats, like it was done. It had to happen. So I won't say 1800. I can't remember the last time Baldur's Gate with that. You know, you have gauntlets, you have other things to push it there. But in my opinion, definitely, 1890, 1880, somewhere within that range, which of course means you're going to be clicking for a while.